last night. It was pretty cool to be in the building for that, especially when LeBron quickly turned his sights on winning an 18th title for the franchise, saying the road to back-to-back starts in about a week. Now, LA beat Houston by 2 points. They didn't have LeBron or AD in the lineup. It does keep their hope of avoiding the play-in scenario alive, though, with 2 games left. If the Lakers beat the Pacers and Pelicans and the Blazers either finish 0-2 or the Mavericks go 0-2, the Lakers then sneak into that 6th seed. Now, if the Blazers and Mavs both finish 0-2, the Lakers would be the 5 seed if both of those teams can't win another game. So, Vince, how much pressure is there on their superstar duo to play these final 2 regular season games?
You know, Rachel, I think there's pressure. I mean, they could say what they want. There's some pressure, okay? But with the Lakers, it just depends on what they're trying to accomplish. What seed do they really want? Do they want to get 6 and play the Clippers, or do they want 7 and see the Clippers later on? It's just the path they want. And that's the only way I can wrap my mind around why LeBron's not playing right now. Because, I think, yes, he has a lot of finals experience, and it's like an old hat for him. He's like, hey, I know when it's time to turn it up, it's time to turn it up, like he said in his speech. But as a team, you just want everybody to be on the same page. And yes, we remember how it is when LeBron's out there and how easy the game is. But you still want to have your guys going and playing your best basketball. I don't care if you're the Lakers or if you're Golden State or whoever you are. So that's my only concern. If they're healthy, I'm not worried about it. But it just depends on where they want to be in this situation. But when you play that game, you have to be careful playing in the play-in tournament, because you can run against a Steph Curry who can go for 50, 60, and upset you and put you in a position where you don't want to be in.
We piggyback on something Vince just said, because you were so right. Like I'm trying to figure out just now as a fan of this, and I love postseason basketball, I think, more than anything I've ever covered, which I'm old enough for that to have been everything. And I love postseason basketball. I don't know whether the problem with seeing a LeBron versus Steph Curry playing situation is you could wind up not having one of them, and you want to have both of them. I'm greedy. I want to see both of them play as much as I can. And so then, though, if you're playing the Clippers, the Lakers coming off of all this, health situation, are they ready for that? But one game against with Steph and LeBron, oh my God, that might be one of the most watched, one of the most viewed games in recent NBA history, maybe all NBA history. People are going to stop what they're doing to watch that. I don't know how ready the Lakers can be. The history of basketball is littered with teams that weren't able to reach their potential because great players were hurt. People like this is new. This is not new.
No.
I remember Magic Johnson, our dear friend Irvin, limping off the court with that hamstring in the finals
NBA
against
finals.
the Pistons. I remember Isaiah Thomas putting up one of the great performances in the history of the game on one ankle. And so the history of the league is part and parcel with injured great players doing what they can if they can get out there. So I don't know what I'm rooting to see Steph and LeBron as long as I can see them, but that might not happen. That might not be in the cards.
We will see. It's all going to happen in the next few days, as is your Hall of Fame induction. Mike, congratulations again. Thank you for joining us. Always an honor.
Appreciate you both. Thank you. Thank you. And thank Chris Paul for what he said again. The amazing Chris Paul. Don't forget him on your MVP ballots, by the way. I'm stumping for Chris now, too.
I love it. Well, Nichols, joined by a future Hall of Famer in Vince Carter and the legend, co-host of PTI, whose Hall of Fame status, we'll get to that in just a bit. But you can just call him the GOAT, Michael Wilbon. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, Rach. Vince, good to be with you guys.
Always.
We got to dive right into the Nets game last night, gentlemen, because after an 18-game absence due to that hamstring strain, James Harden returned to the lineup last night. It was the longest absence of his career, but boy, did he pick up right where he left off. He came off the bench after sitting out the first quarter. That was to manage his minutes, so he'd be available at the end of the game. And he looked just like James Harden. He pitched in 18 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds in just 26 minutes of action. Here is James on the importance of getting back before the playoffs begin. Take a listen.
Of course. Preseason is one thing, regular season another level, postseason is an entire another level. And then it gets, the levels increase as you go different rounds. So, for me, I wanted to get out there and just be on the court. for my teammates and let them feel my presence, and then also get my conditioning and my win back up to where I'm able to compete and be effective on both ends of the ball for an extended period of a game.
He's certainly doing all of that. And Vince, we've seen some other players come back from major injuries recently, and we say after their first game, their second game, oh, give it time. They got to get their timing back. They got to get their legs out and under them. We didn't see James needing any of that last night. What kind of grade would you give him in his return?
I mean, first of all, he's just a straight baller, and I'm going to give him an A. And that's exactly why I'm giving him an A, because sometimes you come back and you can do all the practice in the world. You can prepare, you can run on the treadmill, all of that. Until you're out there on the court playing a professional game of basketball, guarding some of the best players, doing what you do in the moment, you can't get that type of experience. You can't get back in shape until you're out there playing. He was unbelievable. Like you said, 18 points, 11 assists, 6 for 8 shooting, and he didn't look like he missed a beat.
No.
He gets an A because of his importance to the team. Yes, the San Antonio Spurs aren't the San Antonio Spurs of old, but they dominated him, and a lot comes from that man right there.
Rachel, A. That's all you can give him. I mean, Vince is completely right. A. I mean, you want to go A+. To me, the important thing is the 11 assists in 26 minutes. I mean, he got back out there. Remember, James Harden, to me, and I do have a vote. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the MVP of this league for the middle third of the season. Yes. I mean, I know I started off saying LeBron, and I would have stuck with that. And obviously, LeBron got hurt and missed so much time. And then it was James Harden. I mean, it's the playmaking. It's the ability to say what Kyrie said. I know he was partially joking when he said, I said, James, you're the point guard, and that's right. That. And James was like, good, I'm fine with that. And his ability to just come back in and do that, I mean, physically, but also, just sort of plug into what his teammates needed in that space and what they need going into the playoffs. That guy was the MVP for the middle third of the season. And I mean, what Vince is saying is so important. Sometimes physically, you have to shake the rust off. We've seen that with other great Hall of Fame players in this season, future Hall of Famers. But man, what James did last night was extraordinary to me.
It's so interesting. If you look at these stats, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, but there's a number on the bottom. They're 19-3 with Harden and one of the other guys. Now, I would have expected that number to fall more in terms of, hey, when Kevin Durant is playing with one of the other guys, this is a guy who's a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, 1-time MVP, right? Yet it seems to be in this combination of players, it's James Harden who's the activator. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. When Kevin Durant plays with just Kyrie, the Nets are closer to 500. And when they play with James Harden, they're 28-7 with any configuration of the other guys. Why do you think, Welbon, it's James of these 3 that has made the difference in wins during the regular season?
Well, it's funny, Rachel, I've been asking other current and recent former players that same thing. And people have different answers, but the one thing they have in common is they say, look, James hasn't won that championship yet, though he has been a championship level player. He's been an MVP in this league. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't won. And you know how much he wants to win. He tells you every time. He says that whenever he sits down post game, his comments are all about winning. Team and what they're doing and what he can facilitate. And I just think that comes through. I mean, he's not just talking it. He's playing it every game. I mean, some of these assist totals are extraordinary. It's like, Russell Westbrook's rebound totals don't make any sense. You just go, my God, how's he able to do this at that size and rebound that way? James Harden, to be the scorer that he's been and to be able to facilitate in this way, he wants to win. And I think that willingness to do anything, I think his teammates feel that every minute he's on the floor.
And I think it's the sacrifice he's made, and he's not playing the competition game within his teammates and the scores of Kyrie and KD. Because if you do that, the competition, you get sidetracked. And he came in with a purpose. I want to win. I've won scoring titles. I've showed that I can score with the best of the best, but I want to win. And his sacrifice coming in, and he's the best facilitator. Let's just call it what it is. Yep. I think he's also one of the best scorers, but he's the best passer on their team, and he makes that team run. And when they're stagnant or they need a bucket, he can do that as well. So his importance is far beyond the other guys as far as that's concerned.
It's pretty crazy when the best facilitator, not only on that team that's a superstar laden team, but in the league, is also a guy who could drop 40 on any given night that he wants to. I mean, that's an incredible skill set. It's interesting. We threw up the bracket just a minute ago. They could play Boston or Charlotte, kind of with the way things are stacking up now. And obviously, this could all still move around a little bit as we have just a few games left in the season. If we get LaMelo Ball with the way he passes on the same court for a series with James Harden and the way he passes, obviously Brooklyn will be heavily favored in that first round matchup, and I would expect it to go chalk. But it will be a lot of fun for all the fans to get to watch it, right?
I mean, for people who are 100%. Connoisseurs of moving the basketball, that's something you would like to see. And you know what? That's going to help LaMelo Ball in the future. I mean, he's going to be sharing that space with James Harden, not just great players, but with James Harden specifically, the way he's facilitating right now, bound to help him as a young player.
Amazing. All right, I want to switch gears. The NBA announced earlier today they have created a new award in honor of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is so cool. It's going to recognize a player who best embodies Kareem's striving for social justice and racial equality. The winner will be announced during the playoffs. He will receive $100,000 from the league to donate to an organization of his choosing. Here's Kareem talking to our Maria Taylor about the award.
The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion. When you found out that this was going to be something that would start this year, what was your initial reaction when you get that call from the NBA?
When I got the call, I was kind of incredulous. You know, I didn't think that they would do something like that. You know, I was told that, no, it's for real. And I'm just really happy that it's something that will take on an ongoing life and hopefully outlast me by a lot of years.
It's pretty incredible. Well, Bon, what's your reaction to the league creating this award and honoring Kareem in this way?
Well, a couple of reactions, Rachel. One of them is just to having Kareem involved at this level in the league, in the basketball community. I mean, there were too many years where I don't know what it was. You heard all kinds of theories, whether it was people not embracing Kareem to the degree that some of us thought should have been happening, or whether he wasn't available as much as he should have been available. Whatever that is, to have Kareem in this space at all for any reason is good. I mean, Kareem is a brilliant man. He's a champion, a multiple-time champion. He's one of the most important players in the history of the league. And now to add it with social justice, to do it this way. When Kareem was championing this before anybody who's playing in the league was born. I mean, we can probably go like plus 10 or 15 years on that. So Kareem has been at this when it wasn't popular. Kareem was at this when there was risk attached to it. Yep. And you see that Cleveland Summit right there, which is one of my favorite shots of all time.
Yes.
To have Kareem in this space now, Rachel, all you can say is I'm glad to see it. And everybody who feels this way about basketball or social justice should be thrilled to see Kareem in this space.
Yes, this is amazing. It's great to hear all that. Like you said, Kareem has done on the court plus off the court has been unbelievable. And I know a lot of young guys don't look and study the game like they should, but this is something that means a lot. And you know, guys, I hope, you know, they're talking about giving the award at the end of the year to an individual. This inaugural year, I would honestly like to see it go to all of the young athletes who are doing something on the front line this year, because this was the most important year, and we're seeing a lot of these young guys stand in the front lines and using their voice, using their platform, speaking for those who did not have a voice or a loud enough voice, and making sure they were heard. You see, like Jaylen Brown, you see the Milwaukee Bucks. Yep. There's so many guys that you can choose from. But in my opinion, this year, why choose one? Because these young guys, what they did this year in a sticky year, in the bubble, out of the bubble, you know, all of these things, and you just wonder, oh, will guys still use their voice after the bubble, when they're out of the bubble? Well, yes, they have. They've done a great job, and I hope they will consider something like that.
That's a great point, Vince, about sharing the wealth. Right. This year, that would be really important to basically confirm to the people who sacrificed, as you're speaking of, there's so many of them. You don't want anybody to feel bad that their contributions were just ignored if they were to feel that way. So that's a great point.
Although I do love, Vince, you're willing to spend so much of the league's money, $100,000 for you, $100,000 for you, $100,000 for you.
Well, even if it's not $100,000 this year, you know, they can figure that out, though,
Yes,
Rachel.
no, of course.
Maybe it's $20,000.
Yes. And the overall idea, I think, is amazing. And the overall idea of the award is amazing. Producer Steve is saying in my ear that, indeed, the finalists for the award are getting $25K each to give to the charity of their choosing. So I think it is going to get spread around a little bit, and it is so important to have this be at the forefront of our game, to have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being a presence at the forefront of our game. And also, shouts to President Obama for Reach Rodriguez and tech entrepreneur Mark Laura have finalized an agreement to purchase the Timberwolves from Glenn Taylor for $1.5 billion. That is with a B, billion dollars. Vince, what is your reaction to this being official?
First of all, yeah, you said 1.5 bills instead of mills, and that's just amazing. I know they were up for it, and A-Rod's been trying to get it done for a while for a couple of different sports, but you know, congratulations to them, and maybe they have a lot of young talent over there, so it's a great purchase.
It's interesting how guys from other sports, Aaron Rodgers, Larry Fitzgerald, A-Rod, basketball is the place where they're investing their wealth. How about that? I mean, the NBA should be pretty happy about that, Vince.
Yeah, and breath of fresh air in Minnesota. Our producer Danny said, well, that's true. That's true. Vince Carter. Producer Danny said, your move, Ben Affleck.
More so grateful for the friendship and the relationship. Over my 16-year NBA career, even back to college when I met you when I was younger, you've been nothing but more than a man of your word, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that wholeheartedly, and I wish you nothing more but more success and continued health. So I love you, Mike. Congratulations, and keep going.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much,
give me the
Chris
cry,
Paul.
Rachel? Is that what you're going to do here?
Yep. That's pretty much my goal here. I love that from Chris Paul. He is right on the money, and he is speaking of the honor that both Mike Wilbon and ESPN NBA play-by-play icon Mike Breen are about to receive. They are the recipients of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame 2020 Kurt Gowdy Award. This is the highest honor for anyone in the media who calls and talks about and writes about basketball. And the fact that, Mike, you and that Northwestern hat, I hope, are going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. I'm going to cry. I'm emotional about it. What does it mean to you?
Well, thank you. First of all, I mean, to Chris Paul, and Chris and I are partnering on a venture right now, which I can't wait for people to see. 61, keep that title in your heads, which is going to be part of Chris Paul's life and story. And I'm thankful for the friendship with him for all these years. Since, like he said, he was in college. We've known each other a while, like half his life or more.
Yep.
And I'm grateful and humbled by this, Rach and Vince. And I never thought about it. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't something I dreamt about. I just didn't think, I thought that was beyond me. But to be included with this Kurt Gowdy Award with Mike Breen, I mean, my God. And even, you got to get rid of that picture.
Yep, I'm so excited about all of these photos.
They got to
That's
get rid of
Mike
some of
looked
that.
like with hair, everyone, just in case you don't remember.
Oh, my goodness, for those who knew me when. But this is incredible. All those people, some of those people have known me all of my adult life. You saw like Phil Jackson and various people in those pictures that I've covered. And it's great. It's been great. I'm going in the print edition of this. People don't even know I wrote for the Washington Post for 30 years before somebody came and got us, Mark Shapiro, and put us on television. God help him with that decision making. But it's been an incredible ride. Oh, by the way, the special award going to Charles, Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq in that space as well. So to be sharing this space with them is just like, wow. You guys have known me long enough. I don't usually become speechless, but I think I am now.
Really can you explain how NBA players, when Michael Wilbon comes to talk to you, what that felt like for guys throughout your career?
And I'm fortunate to really now be on both sides of this. And I've known and got the opportunity to talk with you for many years as a basketball player in passing. And we've had great conversations and it's been an appreciation. But my appreciation for you is now on this side of the court, because we got the opportunity to work together during the finals in Oakland, and just sitting to talk with you and your willingness to extend your hand and your arms to me, teaching me the ropes in this game. And for me, you came to me and said, hey, look, if you need anything, you reach out to me at any point, anytime you need me. And that meant the world for me, for now the rookie coming into this game, wanting to be the best that I could possibly be. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the person you are. And I mean, you shine a light, and like your appreciation for the sport and your willingness to really help the younger generation coming up in this game is well appreciated, because you don't have to. I mean, you're allowed to walk around and not say anything to anyone because of what you've accomplished.
He's Michael
No,
Wilbon.
seriously.
Vince,
yeah, because you're you.
I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Yeah, and you were willing to like, you came to me first and said that, and I was like, man, he beat me to it, because I was like, hey, can you just spit game to me? But you beat me to it, and I really appreciate that.
Vince, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you saying it, but Vince, it was easy. It was easy in part because one thing, it was easy with you for me to do that. For one thing, standing in front of your locker room for all those passing conversations when you're dealing and you're juggling a million people with microphones and notebooks, it was like we would say, my God, Vince is a natural for this. Who knew whether you wanted to coach or do something else, go off and be an entrepreneur for a while and come back to this or not? It was I did a good talent evaluation job. I got one right watching you, and so I felt that I knew. You were still playing, and I'm like, okay, this is easy. He's going to be great at this, and I can't wait to hear him. And there are guys who've come along very recently in your generation like this. You and Richard Jefferson comes to mind, because I was just on with Richard recently. It's a thrill to see you guys come and become storytellers in addition to what you did playing. And, we were seeing, I know maybe I shouldn't bring this up, but I have to. We were seeing Kobe Bryant discover that at a different level, at the executive producer level, and coming up with stories. And we talked about that when he was a player. And he didn't really want to talk about it then, Rachel knows. And then he said, okay, I'm ready to explore this and talk about it publicly. But you guys, there's a lot of guys who have that feel for this business. And thankfully you're in it. And whatever little I could do, I'm glad, because I'm glad you're on this side now, and thank you for that. That means a lot to me. And the person you're sitting next to, at least on the screen, Rachel, she's had to put up with me since she was wearing 19? That purple hat in Northwestern too. Old. Yeah, 19 years old. That's a long time. But this is an unbelievable honor, and I can't even convey how happy I am about it.
First of all, we just saw Kobe, Kevin Garnett, some of the guys you're going into the hall with, which is pretty incredible. And yes, I was 19 years old, an intern at the Washington Post, going to Northwestern, and we know how Mike is about his Northwestern people. I could not have asked for a better big brother in this business. I'm not kidding about getting emotional. I'm going to be extremely emotional as all of this unfolds over the next few days. If you haven't looked at Michael Wilbon's writing copy in old Washington Post issues, please go back and take a look. It is why he is going in the Hall of Fame, and the quality of that work is what made me want to be a journalist. Plain and simple. I will also tell one last story, is that when I was at the Washington Post, now as a full-time employee, when I was in my 20s, I sat at a little cubicle, and that cubicle was about 8 feet in one direction to the nice glass office that Michael Wilbon sat in, and 8 feet in the other direction to the nice glass office that Tony Kornheiser sat in. And both of them would leave their doors completely open all day, and often, because they were about, 15 feet from each other, would start just yelling back and forth from one office to the other. That would turn into an argument, that would turn into a discussion, that would turn into this back and forth to that back and forth. And I, as a 23-year-old who still didn't know how to do anything, trying to write in the middle of all of this with the back and the forth and the back and the forth. So when they took you guys for the first test for PTI, my first reaction was, thank God someone has taken them out of this office so they can go
Vince,
argue
Rachel
on their
wanted
own
to get
time
rid of me even then.
Instead of then.
I want to tell you a quick PS to that story. One Pat Riley visited the office one day when he was coaching, I guess, the Knicks still. And he and Tony go way, way back further than, I have known Pat Riley. But he came in, he looked at us screaming at each other, and he just said, oh, my God, they're going to let you do this on television now, when PTI came up, because he'd seen it in real life.
Yes.
So, Rach, sorry. I mean, it took a while to get rid of us. We finally got out of your way. Let you do your thing.
I am so happy to say that just like with Vince Carter, I have stalked you ever since, and I'm thrilled that we are not rid of the Low Post podcast, Mr. Zach Lowe. Let's get right to the Knicks, Mr. New York. Their 8-year playoff drought has ended. It is over. They didn't even have to take the court. It's over because their longtime rival Celtics lost in Cleveland. So this is courtesy of our ESPN insider, Bobby Marks. It's important to note that with the Knicks clinching a playoff spot, Julius Randle has now earned a nearly $1 million bonus. Randle also received a $945K bonus for being selected to the All-Star game earlier this season. So very profitable. Zach, what is the significance of the Knicks clinching a playoff berth? You have lived through in that city years of, I don't even know what to call it. And now they are back, baby.
First of all, I hope Julius Randle has an all-NBA bonus because he might make that too. The significance is huge. Like, people think we're overstating the Knicks. Oh, they're cute. They're a little over 500. No, this has been the league's worst nightmare for a long time. This is what the Nets did. They got a bunch of hardworking, plucky players and a good coach, and they overachieved. And guess what happened? Superstars were like, oh, that's going on in New York City? I want to be a part of that. And this is what the league has feared with the Knicks. Now they have the James Dolan factor, which has turned off people in the past. We'll see how that evolves. But the most important part of the Knicks going forward was get a competent, competitive team on the floor with a good coach. And they've done that. And now it's like, don't go crazy. Don't trade all the picks for like an okay, B-plus player, a fringe all-star. Just stick to the principles that have gotten you here, and the basketball gods will reward you. Things will take care of themselves. Just keep on day-to-day doing what you're doing, and they are going to be a problem. At some point, someone is coming.
Yeah, when you think of the Mecca, you think of the Garden. You think of the New York Knicks basketball. And with that being said, a playoff basketball game will be played in the Garden again. So yes, that's great for basketball. It's great for the league, like you said, Zach. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Julius. I once watched Julius play in high school in my Dallas days, and to see him now, most improved player, and what it's going to do for the Eastern Conference, what he's going to do for free agency. Now, because they were heartbroken when they thought Kevin Durant and possibly Kyrie Irving were coming to the Knicks, and guess what? He's going to the Nets. So, like you said, stick to the script, play your brand of basketball, continue to just be who you are. And, of course, Coach Thibodeau has done a great job with establishing that, and then things will take care of itself. The basketball gods will bless you.
Look, I started covering the league when the Knicks were in the NBA Finals. I mean, to me, this team stood for so long for toughness and just basketball truth, and the way the whole city sort of revolved around the Knicks and the way people thought of New York basketball. And then there have been a lot of up and downs since then. But really, I mean, these last 8 years, there were a lot of moments where just the way the franchise was being run was so frustrated and comical, frankly. I mean, this is just not how professional organizations worked. And the reason that got so much attention is because the Knicks are so important to the NBA, the size of the fan base, the place sort of in the solar system of basketball. So this huge turnaround, it's not just about 1 year. To me, I have been so complimentary this season because I think the way this team is being managed is so different. You don't get a participation medal.
The team that's worst in assists in the NBA and second to last in defensive rating. So you mean to tell me that there are no easy buckets because they don't share the ball and they can't stop anybody? Going to be a tough time for the Blazers.
Max, the Lakers stars didn't play, but they won anyway. Does it matter where they end up in the standings?
No, the only important thing for the Lakers is health. That's it. If they are fully healthy, I believe they get out of the West no matter how they go. And as a matter of fact, they may be better off in the play-in game and avoiding the Clippers in the first round, going in cold with everyone coming back at the same time, get a little warmed up, then take on the Suns or the Jazz instead.
So the Lakers are currently the 7th seed out west, but trail the Mavericks by 1 game for the 6th spot, which would get them out of the play-in tournament. As things currently stand, LA would face Steph and the Warriors in the play-in tournament. Let's keep it rolling. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. James Harden returned for the first time since April 5th, where he only played 4 minutes with that right hamstring. In a win against the Lakers, Kyrie did not play. We've only seen the big three on the court together 7 times this season, and they last took the floor together 3 months ago, February 13th. Harden, talk to me.
Not to like brag or anything, but I'm really good at this game. You know, I study the game. I'm very unselfish. I take the game and I play it the right way every single night. So I don't try to do anything that I can't do.
Max, is James Harden right?
Not only is he right, and I never thought he was a selfish player. My problem with Harden is he choked in the biggest moments in the playoffs. He choked, period. I don't apologize for that. And I said the same thing about Steph. He was a lesser version of himself, right? But then what happened against Toronto? Actually, Steph started hitting big shots in the finals when it mattered most. Just because you were like that once upon a time doesn't mean like you're doomed to be that for the rest of your life. Not only is Harden right about himself, listen up. James Harden is going to win Finals MVP this season. He's going to be the Finals MVP. And the secret sauce over there, you know what this team really is? This is the D'Antoni Harden Rockets, but they traded for KD and Kyrie. This is James Harden and D'Antoni came to a Game 7 at home. Missed 27 straight threes in that game. No Chris Paul. They only lost by single digits to the KD, Steph, Clay, Dre Warriors. And now Harden, with D'Antoni sitting on the bench running that pick and roll, has KD and Kyrie as weapons. Never mind Joe Harris. They are going to stomp through the Eastern Conference, stomp whoever they see in the finals. James Harden's going to win Finals MVP.
Kendrick Perkins, what do you have to say about this?
Well, it's a lot of things, Molly, and here it is, right? Did I just hear Max Kellerman say that Steph Curry hit big shots in the finals when it mattered the most? Did he
Against
just
Toronto.
say that?
I said that yesterday, too, against Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I thought the argument and debate here, I don't listen. First thing first is that the Eastern Conference is not that easy like you think it is, okay? The Milwaukee Bucks are really, really good. So is the Philadelphia 76ers. They will not be an easy out. So the road to the finals for the Nets is going to be a lot tougher than the road to the finals for the Los Angeles Lakers, in my opinion. Let me make that very clear. Second of all, I'm going to say this. Before injury, I said that, you know what? James Harden is the best basketball player in the world right now. He's playing the best basketball. But he got hurt. Curry came to light, okay? He is the best. Steph Curry is the best basketball player in the world today. It's no other guy doing what he does with the personnel that he has. He is carrying this Warriors team, okay? If Steph Curry was not on this team, they would be in the lottery. I just watched them play against the Phoenix Suns, and it was multiple possessions, but one in particular, okay? I'm used to superstars getting double teamed, maybe even triple teamed. They had 4 players on one possession guarding Steph Curry, completely ignoring everybody else. That is just signs of respect and greatness. Steph Curry, in my opinion, is the best player on the planet Earth today.
Let me tell you what's unfair about that real quick, Chris. Let me just jump you just for a second. What's unfair about that is when Steph was on a super-duper team, the likes of which we have never seen, when they won 73 games and then got KD, right? Steph's so great and everything. Harden was playing with nobody compared to what Steph had. Nobody. And yet, the Rockets should have won that series. Game 7, they downed Chris Paul. They didn't have a squad to compete with that Warriors team. How did they do it? Harden and D'Antoni almost beat him. Just James Harden, really. And they had an awful game. Still only lost by single digits, right? So now it's flipped. Now Steph doesn't have the squad. He's a little over 500. And Harden's crewed up. And now that's held against James Harden? No. You were right the first time, Perk. The level at which Harden makes everyone around him better is LeBron James-like. Not light, like. It's like LeBron. Game for game this season, he's been the best player on earth. I expect that to continue in the playoffs.
Max, you know how much I love what James Harden has been doing this season. A lot of people doubted him when they made the trade from Houston, wondering if he can fall into that role of being able to facilitate the greatness of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But Max, you do this all the time. You took it one step too far. Because although I do think James Harden is the most important piece to this Nets team when it comes to title contention, make no mistake about it. It's all about Kevin Durant when it comes winning time. I mean, we saw Kevin Durant in 2016 drawing a dynastically great team in the Golden State Warriors. And what did you see Steph and Klay do? They all deferred to Kevin Durant. So if the Nets are going to win a championship when it comes to those crunch time plays, just give the ball to number 7 in isolation and move out of the way. He doesn't need James Harden to set him up at that point. So as much as I love James Harden and what he's been able to do, and then seeing what he did last night, being able to come off of a 19-game absence and being able to almost drop a triple-double, 3 rebounds short, it was impressive. But Kevin Durant is still the best player on this team. And I think after this playoffs is all said and done, Kevin Durant is going to show that he's the second best player in the world behind LeBron James.
You can't. Go ahead, Bert.
And Canty, Molly, you know what gets me about you, Max, is this, okay? I remember, man, last year, it was you, I, and Big Swagoo, Big Marcus Spears on here, and we were debating about who's the better basketball player between James Harden and Steph Curry. Forget winning championships and all that. We said who's the better all-around basketball player between Steph Curry and James Harden. And Swagoo and I, Big Marcus Spears, literally lost our mind. We lost our mind debating with you, telling you that James Harden is the better all-around player than Steph Curry. And you argued us down and was ready
that upsets you? That upsets you?
I mean, yeah.
I'd like to read something. Anyone who doesn't follow Kendrick Perkins on Twitter, you're missing out. Kendrick Perkins is a beast on Twitter. Under 24 hours ago, less than a day ago, 19 hours to be precise, Kendrick Perkins tweeted the following. Don't get it twisted for a second. I call it how I see it, all caps, in the moment. But I'll switch it up if things change. Oh, so Kendrick Perkins, let me quote Big Perk. I switch it up if things change. And you know what changed? James Harden went to a team where he was not tasked every night with scoring 50 points to get the win. And what he showed is he could play with others in a way that elevates everyone beyond where almost anyone who's ever lived has done it. Perk, you can even look at guys like Magic and LeBron. You know what they can't do? Shoot like James Harden. James Harden showed the court vision, the leadership, the scoring from anywhere, unlike I'd ever seen before. He raised his game this year, and he's ahead of Steph Curry.
Max, he done this. He was doing the same thing in Houston with less talent. What are you talking about?
Well, maybe.
We're talking about a guy in one season that led the league in assists, who averaged 28 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds. And then he went on to averaging 35 points and 34 points and 33 points and still dishing out dimes. Max, what are you talking about? I told you that James Harden has history under his belt for as